wanted to sort out the aerial before the season started and get my wind indicator sorted. I decided to hire a cherry picker from Wirral Cherry Picker Hire, who were very helpful. And as we were going up the mast, it was great views, great to look around. But I noticed that the top of the mast there, and you'll see it comes into view there, just on the aft side of the mast, the back end of the mast, there's a bit sticking up, which was not there before. And on further investigation, this proved, well, there's going to be a long story about this one, but at the moment, this is when I first found out. And this bit of what is a plastic sheath sticking up out of the top of the mast there, you can just see it as we're climbing up, because that was quite a shock to me. You can see it there, it's like a big sausage. And yeah, it's what's caused that. So I decided that we'd have a closer look at it. And as we went over, it was a bent piece of plastic sheath that went round the furling rod, because it's an in-mast furling system. And I thought, okay, if that's the case, then I better check on that, review that, and make sure it doesn't cause any problems. It was rather gnarled and twisted bit of plastic. So I decided that rather than it cause any problems, I'll just attach some tape to it. And then that was it really. I put some tape on it, hoping that wouldn't cause any further damage to it and it wouldn't catch anymore. I tried to push it down, I couldn't. It was fairly tight in the mast, so I couldn't adjust it at all. So the plan was just to put tape around it and hopefully that would sort it. I checked everything else seemed to be in order. There didn't seem to be any problems. So I decided that that would be the best fit for today. Around that, okay. Having left well alone, put the sail up, launched the boat now, and we took it out for a trial run. And, you know, it was good. We got to the moorings fine, but then we found we couldn't get the actual sail out any further than about 3 foot. So it was time to take the mast down. Fortunately, West Kirby Sailing Club agreed to take the boat off the water for me, as it needed to be on the hard standing to get the actual mast lifted off, because to put it on the beach it wouldn't have been viable, and it would have been a bit too dangerous. So West Kirby Sailing Club kindly organised the lift for me, and we ended up in the yard there. Excellent bit of kit actually. I mean, admittedly this is a purpose-built boat lift. Ours is, well, we handmade really, our lift, and it does all the boats. This is a very slow process, but when it's just taking one boat off, it's ideal. It just comes out, picks your boat up off the sand and takes it into the boat yard, which is great for me, because I can just sit back and allow somebody else to do all the work. Just now I need to make a frame so that the mast will sit on. That should be high enough to cover that, but I've got to be careful of my speaker. I'll have to get something over that speaker, see whether I can sort that out. I'm doing all these split pins and that. It just got me thinking, why is it when you can buy all sorts of sizes and thicknesses and that, do we always use extra long split pins? I'm not sure. If anyone has the answer to that, please let me know. I mean, obviously, you know, the shorter one will do. It's exactly the same strength. Why we have these enormous split pins, I'll never know. Well, maybe I will, if you send me in the comments. Thank you very much. Preparing to take the mast down is a lot of work. First of all, here I'm removing the boom and also the bank underneath here, you will see. So I'll remove all of that, and then to start on, I will go round all the stays and just take all the split pins out, all the securing pins, so that when we come to actually drop the mast, it's just a matter of turning the turnbuckles and releasing them. But otherwise, you know, the preparation is key to this. It's having everything ready so that when the crane comes, you just hook it up. I'm actually using a cherry picker today because we think we'd be able to do it with the cherry picker, but we won't know until it gets here. I think it should be all right, but it's a question of sucker and see, really. Having taken the boom and the vang off now, the main thing is to look round and remove all the split pins from the bottle screws, so that when the crane is here, all we need to do is just slacken off the bottle screws and take the clevis pins out, because they'll still hold it, but the split pins are there to, obviously, when you're sailing, and it's important that you put them back when it goes back together again. With the cherry picker in place, we decided to, what is the best way to drop a mast with a cherry picker? Something he'd never done before and something I'd never done before, obviously. So once we had a good think about it. Once got the rope at the top, that'll hold it. Literally looked at various ways of doing it, either lowering the mast from the front, just going to try it, or taking it down from the side. And in the end, we decided that the best way would be to go up and support it at the back and lower it from the front, the same way as you would do if you were using an A-frame, only we'd have the cherry picker behind. But look at this weather. Thunder and lightning, heavy rain, dear me, we were out in the thick of it all. Not the best thing to take a mast down when it's thunder and lightning. So we're just going to wait till that passes. Hopefully it'll be gone at 20 minutes or so. How you fix the time, all right?
Yeah.
So, take two, here we go again. So this time we think we should be able to get it down now. And all the preparations done.
Gonna put this
all
on,
the ropes in place, and here we go. Can you turn it, Andy? Loosen it off. Andy was working hard down below, trying to release the forestay. Turn the bottle screw. The failing system down there, but it was quite tight. All the shrouds, all the stays on this are very, very tight, and it was very difficult. Even loosening it off wasn't giving us much leeway. After a lot of work and a lot of trial and error, we decided it wasn't possible to take the mast down. As I say, we were hoping to load it, but this wasn't possible due to the furling, bolt-on furling system not being able to go over the top of the tabernacle. So that was aborted because the actual cherry picker would not lift the mast off, so we aborted that, and the next stage is to hire a crane. Take 3. We're going to try and get the mast down again today. It's a bit windy, but it's blowing up to 10 knots at the moment, with a gusting at 10 knots. 11 knots has been the maximum so far. Hopefully the crane's going to be okay with that, and the idea is we'll just crane it off today rather than try the cherry picker method, which didn't work unfortunately, because that would have been really helpful. And then I think the next thing to do is try and find out what the problem is, and that's always the issue, isn't it? Finding out what the problem is. Yep. So here we go again, take 3. This bit was the culprit with this. The mast just wouldn't go over that lip. If it go under there, that was okay. That would slide under there, so that wasn't a problem. But it just wouldn't go over this lip to come back. Otherwise we could have just swung it down the other day. We had that sorted really. The obvious thing is whether you cut a section off there, but then I didn't want to destroy this because this is a really robust bit of kit. I didn't want to change the integrity of that, so I left it as it was, and hopefully that's a good decision. We'll see anyway. And the crane arrives. Here we go. Because it was fairly cramped where we were, there was only enough literally for the crane to get between the boat and the boats adjacent to us. It was difficult to find the best place to do it. Again, it was a matter of trial and error, figuring out how he could get the arm of the mast crane up to the mid mast, and what we would have to do in order to make sure the mast doesn't go sideways. And so there was a lot of experimental lifts going on without actually attaching anything to the mast, but the crane driver was excellent. He tried very hard to make sure that we got it right first time. Having decided the best way to do it, using the crane, we then attached the lifting strops around the mast and obviously around the shrouds, because this has got to be lifted up now by the crane. It's got to be connected to the hook and then taken up. So we managed to do all of that, and we tied the rope through the strop and then over the crane hook so that we could actually pull the strop up the mast to the spreaders and lock it in place. You can now see the strap being lifted up the shrouds there and the crane, and we keep hold of the rope at the bottom to make sure that it tightens when it gets to the top. We realised we'd left one of the lines attached and we hadn't gone around it, but all it was to loosen that line. It wasn't a major issue, but we managed to get that sorted. The next thing is to release everything. Get the crane to take the weight of the mast and then release all the shrouds, the front and rear stays, and then make sure that all the pins are out. Then release the main bolt on the tabernacle and move the mast, he says. Once we released all the fittings, it was important that we tie all the stays, ropes and furling system to the mast, so that when it's lifted they're not swinging around and hitting people, because there's some heavy turnbuckles or bottle screws, whatever you want to call them, on the end of the mast, and you don't want them swinging around, especially as it was very windy at the time. So the idea was to tie everything to the mast so that when it's lifted, it's not going to affect those that are going to swing around and get wrapped up and tangled.
Get that out now. Hold it at that.
One last job now is to undo the main bolt that holds the mast onto the tabernacle, and then release that very, very slowly, because it was important that we actually take the weight of the mast, take the bolt out, and then I have to push the mast forward away from the tabernacle. It can't be lifted out of the tabernacle because of the bolt-on fairing system that was at the back. To get the mast out, I had to go behind it and then push as much as I could with my feet to push the mast forward, and also there's a rope you can just about see which people were pulling on from the front. So it took a bit of getting out of that tabernacle, but we finally did it, and then it was a question of lowering that onto the ground. Obviously it's got to come up over the guardrails, the safety rails, so we've got to lift it higher than we would have liked, because the wind started to get up. Typical, the wind starts to get up just as you're doing something, and then it dies down again.
No, not yet. Just stay there. Okay, she's over. We clear there, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Phil, if you come here now because he wants to go up down here, and then I'll try and get the bottom down here, that's it. Come closer. That's it, bring us out, they can bring it down.
That's the fairly you've got hold of.
Yeah,
Look, put the suntan on your head. On the boat this week. The notice how we've all got our hard hats on. Listen, if that comes down on you.
Beep.
Okay. Yeah, you can load that down now. I've got to come round with it. Okay.
I need to slacken up a bit.
I'm not. Get it down, please.
Yeah, I need to keep hold of this end. Yeah, it's all here.
Yeah, bring it right down. Hold it there. Bring it down. Hey, can you undo your line now, or let it loose?
Now, I'm on the end of it.
Okay, well, it's not doing anything now. You like it? Hold on, hold it down. We've got a bit stronger on the front. Hold it down.
The mast is finally down, and I must say at this point a massive thanks to everyone who helped. On the first day, I had Andy, I had Gareth, I had Emma and Richie and Darren, Denny, sorry, who helped take the mast down, and a couple of lads from West Kirby Sailing Club also helped, but unfortunately that was unsuccessful, and again thanks to the Wirral Cherry Picker hire who helped. Today it was Phil and Peter and Andy from West Kirby Sailing Club who helped, along with Denny who was there all day to tell them to get down, and Tony from Wirral Hire who came and helped as well. excellent jobs. Honestly, I couldn't ask for better help and support do all this job. I wouldn't have got it down on my own, certainly not, without the help of all those people. Big thanks, they gave up a lot of time, and as I say, the first day, it was pouring down with rain, we had thunder and lightning, and everyone helped and stayed throughout the whole experience. We laid the mast down and then realised it's the wrong way up, so we have to use the crane again. We had to move the crane so we could move it in this confined space, and just so that we could twist it around so I can get at the main fairing system, and now try and identify what the problem is. Having got the mast down and in the right place, try and identify the problem. The first job was to take the sail that was locked inside the mast fairing. As I say, it wouldn't come out under when it was upright, so the idea now is to tease it out of its socket, and that took a while. But, it came out a lot easier than I thought, mainly because it was lying down and therefore not pulling the fairing rod against the slot and jamming the sail, so that made it a lot easier, and we were able to get the sail out quite easily.
You off with the top? One more turn? Yeah. Don't turn anymore. We need to have this all the way up here.
The sail out, it was now time to pull it down, and it came down dead easy. All other times I've had great difficulty in getting the sail down or up, and I think that was part of the problem. So the next stage is to take it all apart and see what we can find. With the sail out, we inspected the fairing system and also the slider, and nothing really apparent, but what did stick out was the shackle that the roller was on, and that seemed to be bent a little, and we had a feeling that could have been jamming at the top and sticking and preventing the sail from turning at the top. But anyway, the next thing is to take it all apart.
Good job today. This is to take the fairing system apart. There's a lot of things in life I haven't done. It's life as we know it. I assume, and it is only an assumption because I don't know, we can take these off. No. That's going to be interesting because I've got to get this fairing through that hole there, and that's going to work, or how that's going to work.
Having no diagram or any clue about how this all goes together, the only way to find out is to take it all apart. So I proceed to unscrew all the screws I can find, then to find out that certain bits won't come off unless I remove some rivets.
Now,
And also,
see how
the
this
big
comes
thing
out.
is that drum has got to slide all the way out. Now, how's it going to do that when that little place just in view there will stop it? So, do we take that place off as well? There was a lot of talk about that in the end. I took the place off and it all came out fine.
It's got rivets holding these on.
You've got a second pair of eyes here, Roy.
Give you just
Those rivets are holding that on, so I think I'm going to have to take that off. This one to get out. And I think we should be done then.
Excellent.
That's out. And then that should now, yep, it's coming off. He says.
Oh, hold on, the rope will slip over it.
I would have thought. There it goes. That's the whole thing now, coming down. Now I presume, I don't know how, got the collar on there, got this collar, I've got to get this, ooh, bearings, oh. Right, okay. So there are bearings inside this, which I didn't know, and it would have been helpful to know, so that I don't lose them, like I'm about to. Looks like they could do with a good greasing anyway. Hopefully this will be well serviced. Get this clip off this side. My beautiful assistant Denny, as usual.
Yep.
Helping me out with the filming this time. Because this needs to be seen really. That's rotten in there. There's no grease in that whatsoever. Not that that was the problem. But there's absolutely no grease in there. I did drop that bearings in there. Then we got that to take off there. And then I think all of this should now come off. I presume there's another bearing halfway up this. There's a split pin. Ah, the failer's there. Right. So the actual failer hold is clipped on. Is sorry, clever's pin on. And so I need to take that off now. Get that clever's pin out, and then the whole failer should come out. That's got bearings on. I think it should, because the idea you can't have just one set of bearings at the bottom.
And action.
Drill these out, drill them all out, but this is still quite difficult to get off that. Now, hopefully, all this.
Bearings. They're in it.
Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they might be.
still in it.
Yeah. How many have we got there?
I think we've dropped 2 of them.
That's rotten, that. It's really rotten. There's no grease in that whatsoever.
It could come out that way now, because it's no.
Will it come out this way? No.
No, go on, I'll feed the rope through.
Now, I think we might have to take that failing out as well. Although we should be able to get this far enough down to find out what's wrong with it. Yeah, that's the metal sleeve. So that sleeve, and that's what's happened. It's been catching as it goes up. The jam has been catching on those things. Is that coming out the middle there, Danny?
Back on.
That's come off here. That section of top bit has come out of that section there.
That sleeve has to go over the aluminium, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Over the
I mean, it's better over the aluminium, but so that's the whole furling code. And what's happened is this has come loose
That's it. Slide that down.
from there.
That will slide all the way down, won't it? Over that joint.
So there, yeah.
Why is there no rivet hole in there? Oh no, that's it. That's the one. That's it.
That should just stay there, really.
Right.
I've taken it all apart and inspected every bit of it. The only real issue was the plastic sheathing, and I tried quite a few places to see whether I could get the sheathing or not. I couldn't. I finally got through to Selden Masts, who don't do it anymore. They now bond the plastic to it, but fortunately he turned around and said it's not needed anyway. It is solely there to stop the sail from getting dirty. It just allows a smooth run on the sail. A sail you can actually do without it. So the job now is to put all this back together and make sure I've got the right shackle this time to go onto it, and then sort it out and then get the mast back up. Hopefully I can do that before the weekend and get the mast back up sometime next week, get the crane back. Unfortunately, I can't get the crane till Wednesday of next week. But thank you very much for everyone who helped with all of this, especially Danny, who was there for the whole job.